your energy, your health, be responsible, and take action. And I would like to start by raising the vibration in the space that we're in now, calling for the highest possible vibration and calling for the truth to come forward into our discussion so that the truth can be seen, heard, and spoken, and that we all be in that frequency of truth. Calling for the highest possible vibration. Alocation Veritas, everyone, and I call for the oneness and truth of the information shared by each and every one of us on this call. Alocation Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude. For those who are new to this event and listening to this exchange of the greeting, Alocation Veritas. Anlakesh is a Mayan greeting which means the oneness with each other and all things, and Veritas is a Latin word for truth. So, what we bring here to this venue is the oneness and truth of the information shared by each and every one of us on this call. It is a greeting of elevation. So everyone, Anlakesh Veritas with honor, respect, and gratitude. All right, everyone. So before we move on, I would like to inform everyone that this event is currently being live streamed on Instagram, which I'm kind of excited about. So everyone will be able to get access to this content. I also am happy to inform everyone that we've started a new YouTube channel, Anlakesh Studios, where you'll be able to access the information such as this and lots of other cool content that includes information on energetic health and wellness, as well as providing a resource for people who wish to obtain information on empowering themselves. There will be a lot of cool and interesting content provided, such as meditations, food recommendations, tasty recipes, all with a consciousness, because everything has consciousness. And with more and new content provided regularly as a source, as a resource, providing information, showing you a new and elevated way to live. So this recording we are doing today will be accessible on this new channel, and I encourage all to subscribe and share with others, friends, and family. So the first of all, I want to start and talk about the statement Anlakesh Veritas. And when people join this space, any space for that matter, they bring with them various energies and thoughts, good and not so good. And bringing this statement forward, these words, Anlakesh Veritas, is a form of cleansing the space, similar to Ho'oponopono. It's a cleansing and a clearing of the space for us in this venue to have and maintain a truthful and elevated discussion. It helps bring clarity for the greater understanding for everyone. It is a clearing away of those thoughts that we tend to pick up and carry with us from our everyday life experiences. So, past Clubhouse events, we talk about our current affairs when it pertains to the pandemic, COVID-19, the vaccine mandates, and how all this information creates an energy of panic and stress. And there's plenty of reports that are being released regarding the efficacy and the safety of these and what we put in our bodies. And many, if not all, of these drugs that are presented to us come with side effects, the pharmaceutical drugs. And they're constantly giving us warnings about that. They're letting us know that. And it's important to recognize this. The vaccines are no exception. So what I recommend is do your own research, research beyond that found on the mainstream media. So I've always shared with everyone that our bodies are amazing and have the ability to not only defend but heal itself when provided with the proper tools. It doesn't matter at what stage in self-care you start. What matters is that you just start somewhere. I now want to shift gears for a moment and share some news, a news story that came out from South China Morning Post on the 7th of February. And thank you, Serenia, for sharing this article. The article was titled, "Couples Fight Boy's Brain Cancer with Natural Remedies, Reiki and Alternative Medicine. We believe his body would not take more chemotherapy," Hong Kong mom says. They spell mum, M-U-M. So in this article, the mother, who is a Hong Kong-based life coach, who regularly uses alternative means, describes how she dealt with her son's illness. Her son was diagnosed with a brain tumor and had undergone 3 surgeries, which then the doctors recommend 8 cycles of chemotherapy followed by radiation therapy, which is actually standard, since that's actually my area as a neuroradiologist. I'm retired now, but that was the standard for each of these kids with these brain tumors. So with this treatment, her son developed posterior fossa syndrome, and it's also called cerebellar mutism. And after having surgery performed, this is after having the surgery performed in the back of the head. And the major symptom for this is either a reduction or absence of speech after the surgery. And realize that this surgery it's a tumor that occurred in the back of the head, and it's away from the speech center, but it still affects the patient's speech. And I happen to have co-authored an article years ago on this very subject. So, going back to the story, her son showed signs that after surgery he lost muscle control, blurred vision, impaired hearing, and headaches. Her son was able to regain only partial mobility after a few months following that standard regimen. However, he also sustained severe side effects from the chemotherapy and grew progressively weaker. And it took him a long, long time for him to regain bone marrow function. And the bone marrow, what the bone marrow produces is the blood cells, the red blood cells and immune cells. And to be again eligible to receive more chemo, he had to recover his bone marrow function. So what the mother described is that he was in a lot of pain and cried all the time, had nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. And then 4 months after he finished his treatment, he then relapsed and the brain tumor came back. But this time his parents opted not to go through the chemotherapy regimen, because they didn't think his body could go through that cycle of treatment, coming out of it alive. So they started using alternative methods, natural supplements, vitamin D3, vitamin K, and some off-label drugs. But what I found interesting about this article is that the mother started to do energy type work on her son. Reiki. She herself started doing Ho'oponopono meditation. And after starting this on a regular basis, the situation for her son became calmer. Her son started to sleep better. His condition stabilized. He did eventually relapse again, but they were able to opt into a milder form of treatment, laser therapy, while continuing the alternative practices. His mother also shared that one day during her meditation practices, she realized how much anger she held against the cancer. And she realized that she had to come to terms with her son's cancer and then just let go of the emotion of anger, which she found was liberating. So she actually forgave the cancer. And so the article states, by forgiving the cancer, it gave her the best chance to conquer it. She then shares that she visualized like gold sparkles falling onto the cancer cells, and one by one these cancer cells turned into healthy, vibrant cells, which I found was interesting. So the story is a perfect example of responsibility and the power it holds to transform any situation. It takes responsibility for your own circumstances, and most people like to place blame on someone, something outside of themselves. But just remember, in every situation you find yourself in, who's there? You are. So you have to decide who and what is important in your life. How important is you to you? And you got to think about that. How much do you value yourself? Are you going to sit there and stay in the same position of imbalance and suffering? Or are you going to do something to shift out of your current experience and take responsibility for it? Does anybody have anything to share, stories that can help, that we can help one another to better understand this concept? All right, well, I have a story. You know, I have a similar story with my uncle, and some of you may have already heard this story. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, which is a cancer that holds one of the worst prognosis. And he chose, though, to move an alternative route rather than using chemotherapy, which then, by choosing that route, increased his survival rate from a 3-month prognosis to 2 years. He survived 2 good years without those debilitating effects that you receive from treatment. You know, and at that time, I was just learning about alternatives, and unfortunately, it was not enough for me to have learned to be able to have assisted my father a few years later, who developed Parkinson's disease, which he eventually died from. Does anyone have any similar experiences to share or comments?
In Lakesh and Veritas. Oh, you can go ahead, Serenia.
No, go ahead, Kier. Thank you.
I was just going to comment that, you know, what you shared, Delilah, is so powerful. Your story and the article. And, you know, some people listening to this may feel that, you know, this is some kind of woo-woo, hocus-pocus kind of anecdotal story. But the truth is that and there are numerous examples of this throughout our lives, that everything is connected. And our energy is truly our most valuable resource. And when I say energy, I just don't, you know, it's not just the ability to get up and go, but how we feel and being able to recognize and honor how we feel. And what the mother did in that article by recognizing that she needed to forgive the cancer. I've heard a similar story to that as well. I think it was in the movie, the documentary Heal, where it was talked about, you know, coming to terms with what's happening and understanding that when something is manifested in the physical, this is just pointing back to what was already happening at an energetic level. And if we're fighting, quote unquote, fighting, then that is not a healing energy. And that if we can reframe that and be in a place of flow, forgiveness, and partnership with whatever is happening for the highest good, that's really how we get where we want to go.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, you're absolutely right. Everything is energy. It's not just to get up and go. Food is energy. We breathe is energy. Even the tangible things that are not moving, those hold energy. Everything has energy. You know, so that is a component that we need to address. And though our thoughts and our feelings are energy, that's something that we need to address. Because those are the things that if we can then address those things and bring those back into balance, we can then, it'll allow us to heal. Serenia, did you had something else to add?
Well, I was going to add that my experience with responsibility with Ho'oponopono, you know, so, you know, I think it's so effective because, you know, I find that if my mind is drifting, you know, and, you know, into like negative thinking, pattern thinking, that when I start to do the whole responsibility, the thank you, I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, it focuses me and it helps me to, it clears the space around me. I can immediately feel like an energy around me that clears the negative thinking that I have allowed myself to go into, and it allows me to calm down. It allows me to think more clearly, you know, and it gives a space for realize that I do have more control over what's going on, and that I'm really responsible for what's going on around me and what I'm drawing to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've had that experience with my children. Like whenever like my son like in school, he's stressed out or whatever, and I'm like, okay, they're like, I know, Mom, you're gonna tell me to do Ho'oponopono, right? I'm like, well, let's try it and see. And so we do it and automate. They go right into it now, and it seems to be so helpful to help focus. I've heard him say all three of them to say how it has helped them in school, with being more focused on tests and everything, because it gives that clarity and clearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a wonderful tool to help clear your space, clear your mind, and give you that clarity. I confront many people who continue to complain about their health, their circumstances, yet they continue to do the same thing, over and over again, wondering why they continue to feel bad, why the same things keep happening to them, why repeated circumstances occur for them, why they are not getting any better. Their circumstances that they're in, they're always there. So they must be the ones who make that shift and change in order to make an effective change in their own lives. A lot of people continue to go to the same resource with different problems, different suggested remedies, but end up with a similar outcome. Tavares, I see you've opened your mic, and Location Veritas. Honor, respect, and gratitude.
Location Veritas, with honor, respect, and gratitude, everyone. I'd like to touch on two different things. One is an example of the Pono being used, and this is somewhat adjacent to what Serenia was sharing with the children, and how this ties into the physical elements that we have, and if done appropriately or correctly, this tool can be used to clear the interference and have a visceral, palpable, observable change at the physical level. Mm-hmm. And I've had many within my own experience, but the first thing that came to mind for some reason was one of my previous relationships. The young lady I was with, she had two daughters, and we were actually doing Ho'oponopono workshops back then, and so we were working with her children very proactively with the Ho'oponopono. And I remember this one time, one of the young girls had a stomachache, and so we encouraged her to start doing the Pono, start sending it to her stomach, and she experienced it, lit the pain dispersing within minutes. So I know that this idea of having an effect on physical matter, specifically the biology, it can be done by young and old. Anyone can do this. Anyone's capable of it. And I think that the only thing that stops us is, or would block us, is our belief in being capable of doing so, which would depolarize, so to say, or demagnetize what we could potentially, the healing that we can potentially draw in. So this, for some reason, this story stuck with me all these years, but it just popped up now. But I think, again, the idea is fascinating that we have the power to shift physical reality. It's just a matter of, one, having the tools and the wherewithal that we can do such thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I've heard stories too, just being people, children who are scared, and once they start, going through a Ho'oponopono, the fear leaves, and it actually empowers them. And also, physical ailments. I've heard this. I think I've heard that story before too, Tavares.
Yeah, I got one more.
Okay, go ahead.
Now I'm tapped into that past experience, but we had so many fun experiences with the children, and the other daughter, she was gifted a little kitten, and happened to the little kid, and where we thought this kid was going to die. I'm just being straight up. And me and my previous partner, we were prepping to, all right, we got to help her cope. She just got the kitten. I think it was the runt of the group or the batch. And it was interesting. This girl, I think, was about 8, 9 years old. And without us knowing, she took matters into her own hands, and she shared with us she began to do the Ho'oponopono on the little kitten. And next thing you know, the kitten's functioning normally. The kitten wasn't able to walk previously, then the kitten finally started walking. So this was something to me that was like, what? Because we saw that this kitten was not moving, and we were already prepared. But again, this child's desire for healing, to change the reality, and through her belief and knowingness, the kitten survived. The runt survived, and the kitten grew to be a cat that we continue to care for. And that not only for the young girl, of course, but for us as the guardians of the child, it was just amazing to see what can be done when these type of concepts are introduced to humans at an early age. Mm-hmm. Where they're most impressionable, and it's a little more accepting. They don't have as many barriers or blockages regarding these ideas. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So again, just another story of how we have the power to impact physical reality, our biology, but as well as other things, external healing to other life forms.
Right. Such an inspiring story. Thank you for sharing. Hi, Donna. Elocation Veritas on Respect and Gratitude.
Elocation Veritas on Respect and Gratitude. I just got in. I was just hearing Tamar share the story, and what's crossing my mind is the fact that from a child, the purity and innocence, right, that is not programmed in the many, 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 many years we've existed on Earth, and getting more of that loaded. Just what he just said was, she just came from the purity within her heart to help this little kitten, and there it was. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Mm-hmm. It's awesome, just awesome.
Yeah, it's kind
thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, it's like it's inspiring, a nice story for a change instead of all the the chaos that's going on in this world. Thank you. So here, go ahead. Did you want to say something too?
No, I was just going to say too. Each generation that comes in is a little bit more advanced than the previous one, and is wired differently and has different gifts to offer. And so, we always think that we're in charge of teaching the child,
right?
When in the reality of it is the child is there to teach us. And so, just to be witness of that is quite extraordinary.
Yeah. So, we got to support that. So here, I'm going to move on, but here on Clubhouse, we're actively sharing our tools and our experiences to help us to manifest a different outcome. But the outcome of everyone is up to you. You are responsible for you. No one else is. Not your mother, unless, you've got children under 18 years of age, and I guess I don't know if we're responsible or not, but maybe we are. But not your spouse or significant other, not even your doctor. Who and what do you think a doctor is? They're human, just like you and me. And it's all up to you. People are going to have to let go of that thought construct that a man in shining armor is going to save you. And look at where that concept or thinking has led you. You are the person in the shining armor. You are the one who can save yourself. We've spoken on the tools that we use: nutrition, supporting our microbiome from fermented foods, cultured veggies, kombucha, kefir, supporting our gut, our immune system, our second brain, supporting an alkaline diet. It is well known that an acidic diet supports disease and an alkaline diet fights against it. Eating live food provides our bodies with the much unadulterated nutrients as possible, as much of that. Food is a form of energy. Stress relieving activities, doing meditations, taking salt baths, those DNA salt baths, helping to clear, support, and raise our energy. Other energetic techniques, the soul translation techniques and pyramid pyrogenics, bioenergetic scanning, help to identify distortions and incongruencies in your energetic field that can then be cleared in order for you to have and gain that greater life experience. Emotional, mental, physical, all connected in Lakesh, the oneness. And let us not forget quantum light property clearing, a clearing of energy in our spaces and places, an effective technique where you can learn more about it on my website or on the Up the Sun website. And I encourage you to ask questions, explore, learn about it. Any other comments or questions or stories, sharing anything. So I wanted to share with everyone that we've created a new YouTube channel called Lakesh Studios, which I encourage everyone to look up and subscribe to. It's active now. And I just posted today a new meditation, Whole Responsibility. So I encourage everyone to please take a look at it and let me know what you think. My mission, help me on my mission to help others by helping yourself and to take action. Any other comments?
So Delilah, that's really exciting. The YouTube and the Instagram, I just checked out the Instagram live, jumped over there, and I saw you sitting in your chair.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did. So that was wonderful. I just tried to find the YouTube channel, and I searched for it, and it didn't come up. And I know sometimes, unless you have a certain number of subscribers, it won't be searchable. So if you can share the link to your YouTube channel, and if you pop that on your link tree, more people will be able to find it initially.
So you're saying to share the link, to share the link on my...
Share the link to your YouTube channel.
Okay.
Put it on your link tree on your Instagram, and then I can find it and subscribe. And I think when you get to a certain number of subscribers, then it becomes like publicly searchable.
Right. Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. It's exciting because we're gonna have so much content. We've got other meditations to post. We've got information. We've got the call for truth divination cards, workshops that we're gonna have on there posted. We're gonna have recipes. Because people think that nutrition is important. It's a form of energy, and people think that eating healthy doesn't taste good, and we provide you with tasty, healthy recipes that are alkaline. So please take a look, and please take a look at that meditation. I'm going to do that, Karen. Thank you so much. But please take a look at the meditation and let me know what you think. All right. Are there any other questions or comments? Oh, I guess it's early evening. It's actually a higher vibrational evening instead of talking about those mandates and so forth. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this event, Clubhouse event, with honor, respect, and gratitude, and Lakesh and Veritas.
Honor, respect, and gratitude.